Hey, you got Chat GPT up and running?
Nope, that's your side.
Oh, we are just totally winging it today, aren't we?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Outdoor Adventure Hour. I'm your host this week. I am Robert Lupo from Lupo Outdoors, and as always, faithfully, one of my best buddies in the whole world, Jason, the Rogue Banshee.
So if you're out there in the audience, welcome Lupo back, and he decided to grace us with his presence today.
Don't get used to it.
I used to it. I have been teasing Lupo all week about last week because well he had a doctor's appointment. Well, yeah, everybody knows what doctor's appointments are like, right? I mean, just because you're there on time doesn't mean they're running on time.
Yeah, pretty much. So I apologize for missing last week. I was kind of excited about it too, and I was like, "Well, crap."
Well, isn't it crazy that we had our biggest week of viewers when you're not here? I'm just kidding. We
Only
really did.
because they anticipated me to be there.
Everybody,
Hey, wait,
I am
Carbon
I am
Q.
totally not set up. Carmen Q, hey, what's going on, girl? It is it's been a while since I've seen you out there. Um, I am just totally unprepared here. See, when Lupo and I are backstage getting ready, we're like messing with guns and talking and catching up on some stuff. And I was working on a couple of AR uppers, and I was not ready. So I think I now have my crap together. And what we're going to do is we are going to do ask Chat GPT a random question, and then for a few minutes we're going to talk about that and see how crazy we can make this show this week. So, Lupo, give us an out give us a question to ask Chat GPT.
Ooh, I thought ChatGPT was going to give us questions to answer.
I know, but what subject do you want? Do you? I was going to go. Give me a random
Um, Fall
sub.
fishing.
Give me a random uh, subject about fall fishing. So,
And if you're watching with us live, please put what you would like us to ask ChatGPT for us to answer in the stream here. This is
so
interactive.
it came up with um, certainly. How about fall bass fishing techniques?
All right, that's pretty simple. In the fall, you want to use a medium-heavy bait casting rod, and you also want to start looking at things. So in the fall, bass are particularly finicky. So the water temperatures are changing and starting to cool down quite a bit. So I always recommend a medium-heavy rod during this part of the season. Crankbaits like lipless crankbaits are really, really good for discovery processes. Also, like flat tail soft baits. But what you want to do is you want to work things very slowly, right? The temperatures are changing. Um, for a medium heavy rod, I usually recommend about 6.5 to 7.5 foot rod. You want to use a really good reel that has like a 6:5:1 like gear ratio. I think it is. I could be completely wrong on that, but I think that's what that I normally use. And you want to make sure that you have a good drag on that. Uh, Bait casting reels are probably your best bet at this time during the summer or in the beginning of fall, especially right now in September. Jigs work, lipless crankbaits work. Um, Deep divers I don't normally do, but top waters at dusk and dawn are particularly lethal for bass about this time of the year. Hi, Vanessa Kitty.
Hey, Vanessa, what's going on?
Vanessa Kitty is not part of the question. So you're
But no,
early. You normally,
Vanessa Kitty is the answer to the question, right?
Vanessa Kitty is always the
Really,
answer.
every question that we could ask Chat GPT is we could just say Vanessa Kitty, and then there's no argument there.
I know. Usually she comes in about later on in the show, but she's here pretty early. So glad you're here.
So here's a quick question for you, Lupo. So, being not a fishing person that I am, you were talking about water, about temperature changes and stuff. Are they more active because they know that winter is coming and they're like just trying to store up for the winter, or I
Well,
mean,
they're
what's
moving.
happening there?
They're far more cautious right now because of the White Walkers. So because winter is coming, like you said.
So do they have to like build a wall like and try
Yeah,
to
I mean,
protect from the winter soldier
they
and
developed the night watch and they're good.
night watch?
No,
Okay.
because it's starting to cool down. Their metabolism starts to slow down as well, so their activity isn't really you know as sporadic as they normally are. The best time to nail bass is actually in spring. But as a bass fisherman, I try to get bass all the time.
Oh, 40 minutes to ride 2 miles. Damn.
Oh
And
no.
that's damn. That's not good, man. You see, I always complain about my injuries, but damn. Um,
I'm sorry,
but
Vanessa Kitty.
yeah, that sucks. So that's the thing. It's just like everything else. Everybody's metabolism starting to slow down for the winter, and they're just you just gotta change things up to get them. Is that basically that's what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. So like in the winter, I mean, people are like, oh, I don't fish in the winter. I'm like, bass are still there. I've definitely caught my share of bass in the winter. The key is understanding colors. So like right now, if you're going to use soft baits and like lipless crankbaits, you want to do shad colors, usually like silver black stripe down the back, or silver with a blue stripe down the back. And you want to do it, like the crawfish colors, particularly good for this type of the season. Of course, anyone who's a bass fisherman understands that the best time to use crawfish colors is like 3 days before and 3 days after a full moon, because that's the magic time for crawfish.
So so that's just funny that you bring up the full moon. I mean, it's just so weird that so many things are tied against the full moon. Um, that you just start to wonder: is this real?
Yeah.
So, all right,
So
let's
I
see.
have
Let's
to
see.
ask Vanessa Kitty something here. Vanessa Kitty, you have a trike. What type of bike is it? And we'll continue on as she answers. I have a 2016 Harley Davidson CVO.
All right. So while we're doing that, let's bring Chat GPT up. Ask another question. Can you give me a random DJ? I can't type today. Subject about, let's see. How about long range shooting? All
Here's a
right.
run.
Wind reading and compensation for long range shooting. Wow, man, it choose a deep subject there. So, how do we read wind? Because you went through a whole class about long range shooting. You were talking about reading mirages and trying to understand what's going on downrange. Talk a little bit about that.
So what I ended up seeing is we were looking at grass performance. So when we were looking at the long strands, we were able to identify the approximate wind, and we used a wind meter to validate it. So, and it's the same thing like in the middle of the summer when you get the mirage over by the target. The mirage will vary depending on the wind. But what I was looking at, since we were out in the wilderness, is the grass. And where I was shooting at and where the target was, we were trying to find that happy medium with the grass. So where I was, we were a little bit higher, and the target was kind of down in the valley. So where I was, the wind was kind of hot, high, but down in the valley, it wasn't as bad. So we were trying to estimate the comfortable medium and then placing our holdover that way. So in a lot of the long range shooting schools, especially like out in Texas, in the summer, the mirage moves in the same kind of principle. So you watch the mirage out at the distance. So you look at where you are now, like a little bit in front of you, maybe in like 100 yards, and then halfway, and then target, and try to figure out how the mirage is moving. So if the mirage is going one direction and then halfway going in the other directions, try to judge whether or not it's about the same or which one's actually giving you more force. And then you can kind of establish where you think your holdover is based off of what you're seeing in real life out there. So it's weird. So if you're not getting any mirage halfway out there, but I'm getting a lot about 100 yards out, and then I'm getting in the same direction at target base, then I know that my holdover is going to be, off to the other side, substantially depending on where I'm judging the wind to be.
So,
I'm still learning this and I'm still getting used to it, but it's freaking awesome.
so when you're looking at your mirage, are you like going, okay, this is about 100 yards out? Are you like aiming your rifle down, changing your parallax to see that,
So
or
yeah,
are
so what
you
I'm doing is
just
I'm doing my focus at 100 yards. So I changed my parallax to 100 yards, and then I kind of focus on something at 100 yards.
okay?
So I can tell if something's in like really good focus. My parallax says 100 yards. I'm about 100 yards out there, and then I just kind of watch either grass movement or mirage movement, and then I go out. If I know I'm going 1,000 yards, then I would go out to 500 yards and try to judge where that is, and then go to target, at 1,000 yards. And at that point, then it's calculations and holdovers, because you can actually see if the mirage is slightly moving, the wind is light. If I get a mirage and I see that it's moving off, the wind is harder. So I can kind of judge, or you can kind of judge based off of what you're seeing.
Oh, Vanessa Kitty's got a great question there. How do you manage the mirage as the heat waves disturb your view, especially through optics?
All right. So the biggest problem is a hot barrel, because you'll get mirage off of a
Yeah.
hot barrel. So if you're shooting several times, but one of the tricks you could get or do, um, there's a tandem with a cord. Yeah, easily. But I could get a suppressor cover, which are insulated, and then I can put it right basically about a centimeter under the scope and then straight out over the barrel to help alleviate the mirage from the hot barrel.
Now, does that suppressor cover change the effects of the barrel? Because now you're not letting heat dissipate from the barrel. You're keeping that barrel hot.
Well, it's only going out to a specific distance. It's not going the full length of the barrel, right? So when you're shooting long range, you're talking 22 to 28-inch barrels. What I need is just enough to prevent immediate mirage at the lens.
Which is why you use a suppressor cover, because they're only what, like 18 inches long,
If that,
depending on the
usually
suppressor
they're
cover.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, they're, maybe 8 to 10 inches long normally. So I'm not alleviating a lot of that. Um,
You're just
And
trying to get it. You're just trying to get the heat away from the directly in front of the scope, is what you're saying.
exactly, yes.
Okay, interesting. All right, let's see here. I've already started my next question. And can you give me a random subject about backpack camping? Ultralight backpack gear and techniques for an extended wilderness trips.
Oh, that's a good one. Um,
That's a really good
w-
one.
Wait when you're out. If you're doing extended backpack camping, which basically means that you're carrying all your gear and you're not just parking and then camping right where you park, you're going into the wilderness. So a lot of this also happens for hunters, where you're going to go out deep into the woods and try to find your game, and or if you're tracking. And one of the issues is weight is your enemy. So the two biggest things that you got to remember is if it weighs too much, you can't bring it. The other thing that you also have to remember is dry feet will prolong your
Yeah.
trip, and
Yep.
strong arch support will prolong your trip. So the reason why you get tired when you're hiking, or when you're going on long excursions, and I talk about this when I'm talking about theme parks, when I'm doing the Orlando Wizard, is your feet are your worst enemy at that point. The reason why you get exhausted and you start feeling pain throughout your whole body is because you're not wearing the appropriate shoes, right? So they have a memory foam and strong arch support type, like hiking boots, that also are designed to be water resistant and also breathe to prevent your feet from sweating. So um, stay as light as you possibly can. It's all about minimalist on that. So um, you don't carry heavy sleeping bags. You don't make sure that your backpack also has a belt support, so it actually focuses the weight on your hips and distributes the weight appropriately. Because remember, if you're actually out hunting, you got to haul back out that game meat as well, right?
Yeah.
So when you
That's a
do a
lot of
butchering,
work.
so yeah, it's a lot. So um, the lighter you can keep everything, the more extended of a trip you're going to have. Also, if you're going to go out into like deep country, be very cognitive of the weather reports. So look up your weather reports and judge. If you have severe storms coming in, it's probably not a good idea to go out there. The weather looked like it's going to be nice, or fair, with little to no rain, then you don't really need the camping tarp. So it's
Yeah.
literally it's down to ounces.
See, when I was doing all my
Extra
backpacking and
socks.
stuff up in the, yeah, extra socks. Yeah, that's the kitty's got that in there. Um, when I was doing all my hiking and camping through the Poconos in Pennsylvania, one of the problems I had was balancing out how much water to take, because water is so damn heavy. You're talking about
Yeah.
8 pounds, 8 pounds per gallon. And that was, I had I have a really nice pack. It was a Kelty pack with a nice belt, and I could do the load leveling off of the shoulders and stuff like that. But yeah, it was water. Water was always my problem on weight.
Mhm.
Everything else, I had a nice lightweight, I had a nice lightweight tent, had a nice lightweight sleeping bag. Um, but man, that water was brutal.
So Vanessa Kidd pointed out, and it goes lighter. I've never went on a light trip. I go to make a camp, then backpack gear goes out from the camp. That is the ideal way to do it. People go out on 4x4s, or horseback, but in some areas, especially if you're going out into deep woods, which I've seen, I've done in Alaska, but not in Montana. But in Montana, we went out deep to an area where we could take vehicles out and then from there create a camp.
There, go out. Yeah,
So if I'm bringing horses or 4x4s, then I can pack more gear, and then from the base camp, as Vanessa said, Kitty was saying, you can go out. and backpack from there as necessary. But sometimes you don't have that option, especially if you're going into areas you're not familiar with. So if you're going into like new areas, got to make sure you have a good compass, be able to track. A GPS with like solar backup is prominent. Emergency radios. It the difference is are you going survivalist to make sure that if you get lost or something that you can live, or are you going like I've been here 1,000 times, I know exactly where my game is, or I'm going out like to this very remote lake and I'm gonna fish. Um, so it really varies depending
The
on the
type of
trip that
camping
you're
you're doing.
planning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going after a moose, right? The less you bring with you, the more meat you're going to be able to haul out.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that balance, and it's always the
Yep.
toughest thing, especially for new people, um, how to get that balance. All right, so I got one. This one's going to fall straight into Lupo's hands here. Can you give me a random subject related to skeet shooting? Now, I bring up skeet shooting because I absolutely despise skeet shooting. I suck at skeet shooting. Um, Mastering the art of skeet shooting, tips and techniques for consistent accuracy. See, that's my problem. I suck at it.
Ah,
I can't hit
so
crap on a skeet.
so real quick, uh, so she uses I can't read Lynn's Vanessa Kitty uses all kinds of different. She has a compass, old-fashioned train maps from Noah. You're spot on, spot on. We gotta go camping sometime. I gotta get her out here for a pig hunt. That would be so much fun. All right, so let's go on to that question. Can you bring it up one more time, please?
No, I asked it. You get one
Bring it
shot
up.
at it, Lupo. So,
All right,
so it is tips and techniques for consistent accuracy.
all right. So that is it comes straight down to muscle memory, right? It's shooting rounds. Your the best tip I can tell you is consistent shot speed. And I've talked about this in the past.
Yep.
So every time I do sporting clays, skeet, or trap, all my shotgun shells are 1,200 feet per second, all of them. So I can shoot, and the reason why, especially if I'm doing sporting clays, there's times where I want to do 9-shot or 8-shot or 7.5-shot, right? If they're all consistent at 1,200 feet per second, because I use 9 when I'm doing skeet and I use 8s when I'm doing trap, um, it's all consistent. So my holdover is always going to be the same because I know where my speed is. So if you want to get good at like skeet, which skeet's fun. The best way to get really good at skeet is go over to spot 1 and shoot 25 rounds of just doing of the doubles, just coming simultaneously, and make sure that all your shells consistently from this day forward are at a speed that you can either find and buy relatively available, or you're going to reload. I chose 1,200 feet per second because I had my own formulas that I like for that speed, and where I was shooting 1,200 feet per second was relatively available in shotgun shells. The mistake you can make that's going to frustrate you is just randomly buying shells. So like shooting 7.5 at skeet, don't do that. Making sure that you have the right chokes, you know, like modified for sporting clays skeet chokes for skeet. And then make sure you have the right sizes. I shoot 9s when I shoot skeet, and they're all at 1,200 feet per second. And then once you get that down, it starts eliminating the base problems. So if you're missing, it's not the rounds, it's not the size of the shot, right? And if you
It's your
practice
reach.
like the way I would practice, I would shoot 25 rounds per station, and then I would that was routine when I wasn't competing, as I was shooting a couple hundred rounds every time I go out, just to get used to my holdover. So if I was bringing it up, I like boom, boom, I knew where my swing was, and it stays consistent.
So let me ask you this: why did you settle on 1200?
Well, like I said, where I was at, 1200 was relatively available. So if I ran out of ammo, I knew I could find
You guys did.
1200. Yeah,
It's funny
but
because I was sitting here looking at my ammo shelf, and like most of my shot is most of mine's 1200, but then I got some that's 1290 that I don't have much of. But
mhm.
yeah, that's what I'm looking. My 8 shot is 1200, and my 7.5 is 1290. And that was just I think the 1290 is just shotgun ammo is getting hard to get, so I just started buying boxes, and that's what was left on the shelf.
Well,
Um,
yep.
just
If
just
you're going to get
just
into it, it's all about reloading. It really is all about.
mm,
I mean, you can get a Lee reloading press, which is just they're small and cheap,
it's
and but they do the job. And you just look up your formulas. I'll tell you right now, the absolute best shells to get for reloading, so you shoot them and then you can get your maximum reloads out of them, are Winchester double A's. They are built tough. They last forever. I get more shots out of Winchester double A's than that's it. That's the perfect
yep,
reloading press when you start. It's inexpensive. That's what I started with.
dirt cheap. Yeah, dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap.
I used to have a mech. I used to have a mech, and I had that since I was a kid. And eventually, it just got it was stored wrong, and it just got destroyed. Um, and I had to get rid of that thing probably about 20 years ago. Sad to see that thing going, but I totally want to get another. I totally want to get another mech. But this thing, I think I bought this thing for like $60. I mean,
Yeah, something
it
like that.
wasn't it
It
wasn't
does
expensive.
everything. So I had three reloading. I have three reloading presses, and I use that one for my number 8. So each press is set up. So my mech autoloader is at 7.5s. My progressive mech is for my 9s, which is my skeet rounds, and then I would use that one for my number 8s, which is trap, which is And then
Right?
here's another secret: color code your shotgun shells. Um, I mentioned this before. Um,
Yep.
so like I would use red shells for 8s, green shells, which were my Remington shells, which work really well for my 9s, and then double A black shells for 7.5. So if I'm doing sporting clays and I need a number 9, I know exactly what color that is. So I don't have to waste time looking. I can just grab the color because the colors are set. So that's another
I
tip
love
and trick.
that.
Yeah.
Hey, Warsaw Patriot, thanks for jumping in there, man. It's great to see you, man. It's been a long time since we've talked, and hope you're doing good out there. Yeah, it's funny because I use this Lee load all too. I was loading slugs off it. It's great for loading slugs. Because I was running 1 ounce slugs for stuff, and I like to test gear with 1 ounce slugs. And my 1 ounce slugs, I think I can't remember what they're running. I think they're running around 1300. Now, one
Yep.
ounce slug running at 1300 is that thing is devastating.
Yeah.
It's
Warsaw,
also
I saw that today. Yeah. The magazine ban they have in
being banned.
California,
Yep,
unconstitutional.
unconstitutional. And what's great, Warsaw, is that guy right there used to live in California. Um, he
Yep.
escaped to the free land of Florida. Um, yeah, that is awesome that he did. I read that probably about 2 hours ago. And I was like,
Yep.
that is freaking awesome. The sad thing is Benitez also has a habit of granting stays after he has a ruling. So California will challenge it, and then it'll go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to give you
Yeah.
a stay on that." That's the only problem with him. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen with him over the next few days. But that is awesome that is unconstitutional because it's going to knock out Oregon and up in Washington too. Yeah, exactly what Vanessa Katie said. Yeah, yes, until it goes to the appeals court again. Yeah, he'll like he'll hand us this great win, and then go, oh, sorry, I'm gonna pull that right out for underneath you. What's great is every time that he does that, Brownells immediately start shipping magazines into California until the stay hits.
Yep.
So they have these like a few days where it's like suddenly legal, and then Californians buy everything up. And let's see here, what do you say? I don't care what state you live in. Every citizen deserves to live free, same freedom when it comes to the two-way gun. Absolutely, brother. That's what it's about. That's totally what it's about.
Absolutely.
So I've got another subject already queued up here. So we're going to go back into fishing here. Can you give me a random subject about deep sea fishing? Chasing trophy fish, strategies, and exciting adventures in deep sea big game fishing. Wow. Went deep on that one.
Yeah, you did.
No pun intended.
Deep undercover. So most of my deep sea fishing has been for like tuna.
So that's the only thing I can think of. Other than, I tell you, I would love to do that. But I would love to do swordfish.
So we have marlin and swordfish out here, and I'm dying to go out there and and go after some. But I'll tell you right now, the fight is you better be in shape. You better be in shape.
There's no way with my back having 2 herniated discs and all that stuff. There's no way. I'd like have to get it on hook, get a couple of cranks on it, and just go, hey Lupo, man, you got to take over for the next few hours for me.
So Vanessa Kitty is deep sea fishing since she was a kid. So in Alaska, I mean, you really don't have to go deep to get big fish. That's the kick, right? In California, we used to go out as El Nino came up. We can go out to the islands, and we could get tuna because all the warm water is pushing all the game fish up, and they've caught marlin and all that stuff. So if you're going after really really big fish, the kick is you're not going by yourself. Or you always have like a guide. But often you need to team up. You need to go out there with a crew, and you guys need to like take over if you're going for really big game. Tuna, God, it's like fighting a torpedo. They are so fast and they fight so hard, and which really is like halibut, 243 pounds. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So tuna fight really, really hard. Vanessa Kitty, when I lived in Juneau, someone pulled a 200-pound halibut up off the pier with a drop line with a jig. It's crazy in Alaska. If you love to fish, you need to go to Alaska. The only problem with going to Alaska to fish is it will ruin you for fishing anywhere else because it's just so amazing up there. It's crazy sauce. But yeah, I used to do a lot of tuna fishing out there. And the crazy thing is you could fill your boat with tuna. I mean, just like you can't even walk. There's just so many out there. If you want to go after tuna, it's all about squid patterns. Like a chartreuse squid worked really, really well. A pearlescent white worked really, really well as well. And you do like a medium troll along the water, and it's like nothing. Oh my God, the rod's being ripped out of my hands.
So basically what you're saying is be prepared and have some good reflexes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's cool stuff. I absolutely love deep sea fishing when I can do it. I love shark fishing.
That's something I never did.
I do catch and release with sharks.
Yeah, shark meat is good. Um, but yeah, I never got a chance to go deep sea
I
fishing. It's something.
love.
It's something that would be really cool. But man, just the body is just not up for that thing. Let's see here. I've got another subject. This is going to go right into a good one for Lupo. Can you give me a random subject about rifle scopes?
Why am I answering all the questions?
Because I talked for an hour last week, and
Okay,
and
I guess
you're
that's
and you're
fair.
the one that said that I could run Chat GPT. So,
Yep.
anyways,
All
um,
right.
choosing the right rifle scope for long range precision shooting. Awesome.
All
That's
right.
right, dude. That's right up your alley.
That's it. I have researched the living crap out of this subject matter. Um, so long range shooting must haves first focal plane. Absolutely must have first focal plane. More magnification isn't always better. A lot of people are like, oh, I want maximum magnification. I want 6 by 46, with 52 lens. Well, the thing that's really matters the most is your tube size, like 34 millimeter or larger, and your front optic. The larger that is, the more light you get and the more you can see. So those are two things that I would take in consideration more than anything else. Uh, the standard that most people like to go to is like 5 by 25 by 52 with a 34 millimeter tube. Which one do you got?
This is the that Crimson Trace.
Oh,
So
that's
this is
nice.
the yeah, this is 34. So this is not for long range shooting. This is an entry level one. This is more for tactical because I grabbed this one because Lupo was talking about the size at the end there. As you can see, the tube just kind of ends here, but this is more for a tactical. So this is not a good long range scope,
That would not be
but
long range.
a good short to medium range scope since that's the type of shooting I do.
So for
Because
my match grade rifle, I have a Genesis, and that is a 6 by 60 with a 54 millimeter lens and I think 30. I forgot what the tube size is. I'm sorry, but it's designed specifically for like a mile to 2 mile shots.
yeah,
It's ridiculous. The scope is interesting because normally when you're adjusting the reticle, it's all internally, right? Here the centerpiece doesn't move, but the end pieces adjust for maximum distance. It's now, mind you, it's a $6,000 scope.
that's all.
um, but it's a beautiful piece of work, and they also, yeah, that's all. And they also have that go out to the top is 80, so mine's 60, and then they have them that go up to 80 as well. That these are designed for long range competition shooting. These are not obviously hunting scopes. So my match rifle. So I'm going to be actually doing since I've done my move. I'm setting up my studio here. I'm going to be filming hopefully soon a video on the match grade rifle and talk about the scope and the match grade and um, the horrible. It has the most lightest trigger I've ever used on any gun in my life. It's like you come over here and you touch it and it clicks. I mean, it's just there's like nothing there, right? It's rock solid, and then you just touch it a little bit and it goes boom. Um, so I let people like try it off on snap caps. It's chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, and people say it's a tack driver. This drives the tack of the tack driver. It is so precise, and the freaking barrel's like this big, man. It's just there. The barrel weighs like 30, 40 pounds itself. It's just this monster huge barrel, and it came with 2 barrels. So it's
All right.
insanity.
So I'm gonna put you. I'm gonna give you a break here. So I'm gonna take one. I'm gonna take one for the team here. Can you give me a random subject about getting into USPSA competition? Let's see here. A beginner's guide to USPSA steps to start competitive practical shooting. All right. So I kind of led. I'll be honest. I kind of led Chat GPT in there. Give me an easy one. Um, so the thing with USPSA, there's multiple competitions if you're a pistol shooter to get into, and I like USPSA. I like the rules better than IPSC, but to get into it is really basic. It's whatever you have already, because if you're listening to this, you probably already have a pistol, so that's good enough. Really, you need a pistol, a holster, and some magazines. Right? That's about all you need to get into it. You just need to understand some rules about it. If you've never shot before in any competition, you'll hear about what's called the 180 rule. So as you're standing on the facing the targets, you have 180. So if you put your arm straight out, you're allowed to shoot from 180 degrees forward. If you go past that, you'll be disqualified because that's an unsafe condition. But what they will do to you is that that's a weird saying that I wrote a conversation in there. I was like, when did I write that? I'm talking. It's Lupo talking on the backside. But there are things you want to do. You do not want to rush. You'll see people running between targets. Walk. You're not going to win, right? You're there. It's your first competition. Walk it. Talk to people when you get there. When you talk to your range officer there, you just go, "I'm a new shooter for this competition," and they will walk you through some things. They'll talk you through some other things. They might give you some pointers to not. You might have a thing where you'll violate the 180. So one thing that they'll do is when you draw your pistol, they'll get you into a position where you will break the 180-degree turn if you draw your pistol. So if I'm a right-handed shooter, they'll have me start with my back to the target, and I have to turn. Well, the easiest way that I'll turn might draw across the 180, so you'll have to turn, then draw your pistol. And those are just some real basic things. Is you need to understand safety, because these competitions are all about having fun and being safe doing it. As you start getting into it, then you can start seeing what kind of gear you want. Maybe you want to have a different pistol to shoot competition. That's fine. Just start with what you got, and if what you got is not enough, generally at the competition, people will lend you gear. I have when I show up to these competitions, I have all kinds of gear in my trunk. I bring extras of everything in case somebody needs something. It's a great time because everybody is there to support each other. I heard one of the great. I heard a conversation about this, and one of the things was, if you're really not sure, show up to a competition and watch. Just watch what's going on, or even offer to help set up and tear down. Volunteer. You will learn so much just watching. But when you get squatted up, if everybody knows that you're a new shooter, do not be ashamed that you're a new shooter. Say, hey, I'm a new shooter, no problem. Everybody's there to support you. It's amazing what happens with new shooters. And
They would
since I've been
rather get you into the sport than have you walk
yes,
away discouraged.
exactly,
That's in every shooting sport I've ever done. It's like, here, borrow my gear, or here, try out my rifle, or try out my pistol.
now since I was talking all the time, I couldn't ask the next question. about K-A-Y. All right, so I asked Chat GPT, give me a random subject about getting into kayaking. Navigating the Rapids, a beginner's guide to whitewater kayaking. I didn't think it was going to go right into whitewater. I figured just go right into
Wow.
like river kayaking. All right, Lupo. So, how do we get
All
into whitewater kayaking?
right. So whitewater kayaking is dangerous,
Yes.
very dangerous. So first of all, never go by yourself, ever. I used to be a guide on whitewater rafting down the American River, and I used to do class 4, class 5 rapids. And I would never ever attempt any type of rapids, and I was a guide by myself. Period. Way too dangerous. So if you're going to do whitewater kayaking, your best bet is go with a guide. Your safety gear is critical but the first thing you need to learn how to do is if you're in a kayak. So for whitewater rafting, you're not going to use fishing kayaks. You're going to use a whitewater kayak, which is designed specifically to be able to move around and be maneuverable. But one of the first things they teach you is how to right yourself if you flip over, especially if you're on an inside kayak. So it's a technique you got to learn, or you're going to drown. I mean, it's simple that you go in onto a lake. Your guide there, or it's whoever is teaching you, and what they do is they flip you over and they go through the process of teaching you how to right yourself. And it's not hard. It's using your paddle, in a flat process to push the water and use the water's force to flip you back over. Um, but so being experienced going whitewater rafting, I wouldn't do kayaking. I wouldn't do whitewater kayaking. There's too many variables and
It's too
it's
easy to
too
drown.
dangerous. It's
Yeah, too
way
easy to
too.
drown in that.
I mean, you got to wear a helmet. You got to make sure that you have the proper life vest on. I've seen people go out kayaking by themselves and never wear a life vest, and I'm like, well,
Crazy.
sometimes you're suicidal, right?
Yeah, and
You're
that's the
spot
thing is
on,
I would
Vanessa
never.
Kitty.
What's that? Which one? The boulder?
Yeah, it's the boulders. So when the water hits the boulder, it creates eddies, and then like this massive undertow. So when you start going down and you hit the things, there's enough force with these to actually pull you in the kayak underwater. I was in these giant rafts with like 8 people. And like if we did the chute down the American River, the chute is a class 5 rapid. And what they did is they had blasted out this straight shot when they were gold mining there, right? And then when the river took over that area, it's about this much space on each side of your raft. So the first thing you have to do is once you line up and you go down the chute, you got to bring your oars in inside because there's no room for them outside. And if you don't hit it just right and your raft tilts, it will fold you in half and throw everybody in the water. And then when you get to the bottom, the undertow is so strong. I've seen it with me, it's pulled the whole raft underwater like a submarine. Like I gotta find this picture. I would love to show it to you guys. All you can see is the top of our paddles, like shark fins, yellow shark fins, and they're at the bottom going straight up. And it's just a whole series of these, and all of a sudden you go pop, come straight back up. If you're not ready for something like that, that's scary as hell. Now, with a kayak, you have far less buoyancy. So if you get what they call the washing machine, which is just churning at that point right there, um, the way you get out of those is you put your arm out, right? And the arm will, the flow of the river will grab your arm and pull you out of that of the washing machine, and they're turning. Um, it's scary as hell. It's absolutely scary as hell. I've been whitewater raft. Whitewater rafted for years and years and years. I never once fell out of my boat. I jumped out a few times, so it's a swim rapids, but I'm one of the really fortunate that never actually got knocked out of my own boat, or any boat I was in. But I've seen people do, and I'll tell you right now, when you have a life raft or life vest on, and you are being sucked underwater by the sheer force of the river, um, your training goes out the window, and I've seen so many people that you get the eyes widening and they panic. And then as a guide, my job is to get over to them as much as quickly as possible, and get them out of the water. And ironically, if people are outside of the raft and the water's deep enough, the way that I get them in the boat is, you push them underwater, and then you yank them out of the water, because you use the force of the flotation that will pull them up and give you some speed to actually yank them into the boat. There's all kinds of things about it, but you either get addicted to whitewater rafting,
Where you never
or
go
you
again.
don't. Yeah, but I honestly, I had seen so many accidents on the river with kayaks and whitewater rafting. It was just determined that was something I was just never going to do.
All right, so we got just a few minutes left. So I am going to, I've already got my next question in, because this will probably be our last one. Can you give me a random subject about outdoor or backcountry sports? So anything, just give us anything. We have no idea where this is going to go. Backcountry skiing adventures, tips and essentials of exploring snow-covered wilderness. So I've
Oh,
never done backcountry skiing. I've always done downhill. Um, and all of my skiing's been on the East Coast. I've never been able to ski out here in the West because my knees are shot and I just couldn't do it. But with that's kind of a unique thing because with backcountry skiing, there's a lot more danger to that, right? Because you have no idea how deep that snow is. You might run into an area where you set off an avalanche. Um, but that type of skiing is way different than downhill because you are leaning back on your skis, whereas downhill we're leaning forward on our skis. It's kind of like skiing in powder, even downhill powder. Downhill on the East Coast is a lot of ice, so we're leaning forward. We're getting the majority of our speed,
it's
but
it's
you can't.
packed snow. Yeah.
You
So
can't do that.
Alaska was the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to lean back on the skis because otherwise your skis will torpedo right into the snow.
Yeah.
Um, so you're dealing a lot with that. But so, have you ever done cross country skiing, Lupo?
Not cross country skiing per se. I've done unexplored areas, doing downhill, um, but that's also really dangerous. Um, I was at a ski resort where they found somebody that was near dead because he went off trail and
Oh
he
God, yeah.
fell. And when he fell, the snow was so deep and so light, he went upside down, and the snow compact around him, and his skis kept him at the top. And he was basically struggling, and then he started, losing air. If he didn't have another guy with him, who saw what happened, and as he tried to go towards him, he started severely sinking in the snow. So he stopped and started screaming for help. And then the rescue guys got over there and were able to pull him out. And he was unconscious by the time they pulled him out from a lack of oxygen, but he was still breathing, and came to, and he was okay. But if he had been by himself, he would have been a dead man.
That's see, that scares the hell out of me, right?
Yep.
That's when I was a kid, I had a very big tragedy. I watched my dog fall through ice and drowned. Um, so it's so funny. My wife joked around because I went through ice rescue training and stuff like that. She's like, "Are you crazy after what happened to you as a kid?" I'm like, "I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the water. I'm afraid of not breathing." And that would freak me out, being in water and not being able to, not in snow, because you think that I'm not going to drown in snow. Well, you can suffocate.
Very
Um,
quickly. Very
yeah,
quickly.
very quickly. And then, I mean, you start seeing these cases where people get into avalanches and they've breathed in the snow, right? I mean, there's snow actually in the lungs. Well, it's water by then, but you could technically drown in snow. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's I've always wanted to do some backcountry skiing, but my skiing career was pretty short because of the knees. I'm trying to remember. I think the last time I was skiing was probably mid '90s. Is the last time I've been skiing. Um, and skis have changed so much since then. That sport has changed so much.
Oh, without
And,
question.
and let's see here. Let's see. We are down to about the last 3.5 minutes left. Um, so I have already come up with a subject for next week, if you don't mind, Lupo.
Please.
I think we should talk about how to choose everyday carry items. Now, when I say items, that doesn't mean just a gun. It could be knife, flashlight, all of that type of stuff. Anything for everyday carry for personal protection. Um, so let's talk about that stuff. Was that your lipstick?
It's a little micro knife that I just got in the mail today. And it's like razor blade sharp. It's just incredible. And it looks like a
Awesome.
little pill. It sits on your keychain. Isn't that cool?
So that is awesome. So let's talk. We will talk next week, next Friday, about everyday carry items that we either carry or how to choose, and all that type of stuff. We are down. Yeah, we're down to the last few minutes here. Lupo, any last words?
Uh, so thank you all for all you who attended and joined us on uh, our AI adventure today. That it was a lot of fun, and we really appreciate you guys listening to our podcast and being involved with us here. Please check out my channel, Lupo Outdoors. I have a lot of really interesting things, including a full restoration of a mech shotgun reloader that has been rusted into non-compliance. So we're going to be rebuilding that from scratch. And then lots of new stuff coming in, lots of reviews. Check me out, like and subscribe. And then go check out, if you're not a member of the Rogue Banshee, please subscribe to the Rogue Banshee. Um, he's my favorite channel to watch. And if you're into how-to videos dealing with firearms, there is no one better on YouTube than the Rogue Banshee himself.
I appreciate that. And for me, I had a video released today that is about the Lone Wolf Arms Dawn 365 slide and barrel. Um, that's a 4-minute review of that, and I tell you about my thoughts and some problems I did run into with working with that. And also on Sunday, the podcast, the For the Love of Guns, will launch. That has Diana Muller on it. Diana, it's the second time she's been on the podcast with me. We talk about the something with a concept I call is the trifecta of social gun control. So basically, gun control that is being pushed onto you that's not regulated. So definitely check that out on Sunday. That'll launch Sunday at noon Mountain Time. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. As you saw, it was a rough start just because Lupo goes, "Oh man, we got to go live," and I was sitting here farting around with barrel. Oh crap! I was trying to get everything going. So, but everybody, thank you for joining me. This was fun because we just had no idea what was coming up, and it was fun just putting Lupo on the hot seat. I did enjoy that. So, everybody, have a safe weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.